almost everything's important, but this is the most important thing for Georgia trying to go to a national championship. Dean Legge, Ryan Curley, Matt DeBerry. Again, we're going to go to Ryan first and then Matt. Ryan, what's the one thing?
Staying healthy, right? You know you're probably one of the best teams. That's what got in Georgia's way this year. It changed the SEC championship. It changed kind of the trajectory of their November, which was great anyway, right? They were just running through teams, but I think that's going to be more important now too. Just there's going to be more football games, and there's going to be more football games for programs like Georgia who are going to be playing in these games and winning these games. So staying healthy is really important because when you have a roster like a Georgia or Ohio State, a Texas, or what Bama's had, I don't know what it's going to be in the future. When you have those rosters, you should win games. You should line up and beat these teams, and that's how we felt about Georgia in the SEC championship. And what's one of the reasons? Well, they had their two best weapons were out there hobbled around. They weren't playing at full strength. That was definitely part of that game. So I think that you got to lean towards that a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan. You got to be healthy. I think the team that's healthiest towards the end of the year might have the best position, especially if you're one of those elite teams. But I think if Georgia does win the national championship next year, it's going to be offensive led. Of course, Carson Beck coming back, experienced quarterback. They've got the experienced running back, Trevor Etienne, 4 returning starters on the offensive line. The receivers they brought in through the transfer portal. One of them, Colby Young, is more experienced than the other two. Oscar Delp is in year 3 at tight end. I think there aren't as many holes offensively as there is on defense. They're replacing multiple starters in the secondary. I don't think they have a Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Trayvon Walker type of guy on the defensive line. Maybe Jamal Jarrett steps up in year 2. Maybe Jordan Hall becomes an impact defender in year 2. Maybe one of the pass rushers, Damon Wilson, Sam and Pemba step up. But I think there's just more question marks on defense. Now, they're young, hungry, talented, and a lot of guys are going to win those jobs who are going to have to beat out other very talented players for those starting jobs. But at the end of the day, I love where this offense is set up, especially if guys like Branson Robinson can stay healthy. Another tight end emerges, whether it's Lawson Lucky, Pierce Spurlin, maybe Jade Riddell, the incoming freshman that a lot of people are really high on. But Tate Ratledge coming back is huge. Xavier Truss coming back is huge. Monroe Freeling is a tackle, former 5-star that's emerging, but Dylan Bell is going to be in his 3rd season. A lot of experience on offense, Dean. I think if they win a national championship, you can contribute that, in my opinion, to the veteran experience-led group offensively.
My big thing is the coaching staff. I mean, one of the things about Georgia that's not necessarily true about a lot of other programs is they're returning both coordinators and the head coach. I mean, you look at Michigan, that guy's probably out the door by the time you watch this. Washington, that's changed. Alabama, that's changed. You got Texas, Georgia, Florida State. They all have their coaches. Oregon as well. I mean, I think Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas are probably the betting favorites for a reason. But, Ryan, when I think about this Georgia team, I think about the explosion that we saw in November, as you say, when they were healthy. And, what is it going to be like when you have an entire September where, they're going to have to get out of the gate quick. I mean, I think they'll beat Clemson. Even if they don't get out of the gate quick, I think they'll beat Clemson. But, I mean, it's not like that's not a big game, and that will get their full attention. They're going to have to be ready quicker. And I think that unlike the sleepwalking of early September, or almost all of September for Georgia, they're going to have to be ready quicker. I think that'll help the rest of the season too.
Yeah, they had that margin for error last year
Yes.
when you were playing a bunch of cupcake teams, and then Auburn was kind of your last chance to say, all right, get it together. There were different factors in that. Carson Beck, obviously, just reacclimating to being the guy, blending with weapons. They were not healthy in September either, right? Couldn't field a healthy running back room until week 4, roughly. So that was a big problem as well. I think they're going to handle Clemson in week 1, right? I think that'll be a good momentum boost for them in Atlanta. But that early schedule is tough when you mix in Alabama there in the first 4 weeks, right? That's within the first 4 weeks
Correct.
of the season.
It's in September.
Look, you can lose a game early on. You could lose that game and win the national championship, right? That's still on the table. But I think they will start faster this time, as long as things go to their plan during the spring, during summer workouts, during fall camp, all of that. This team should come out firing on all cylinders, or at least a lot closer to it than it did last year, because Part of that is Carson Beck and Mike Bobo and them having another year together and him figuring this thing out. I mean, older quarterbacks that are already really good change things, and he should be able to do that for them. But I think they'll get out to a faster start, and there'll be a much different conversation about Georgia this September than last.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good that they're opening with a quality opponent. We saw it in the beginning of 2021, top 5 matchup against Clemson. They came out and won a tough, low scoring game, and they took that momentum throughout the rest of the season. Of course, starting the 2022 season against a good Oregon team, they just absolutely crushed them, won by 50, 60, 80 points, whatever the score was, like 49-3. I mean, it was just a massive blowout. And they took that and ran with it the rest of the season. So it's a little different, I'm sure, for the players and the coaches, knowing that you don't have Ball State or UL Monroe to start the season. You got Clemson in Atlanta, a game that everyone's going to be watching. They are going to be ready. And I'll say this about Carson Beck. One of the things that he didn't do consistently enough was hit those deep balls down the field. If he can do that a little bit more and start connecting down the field a little bit more, man, that's just going to take this offense to another different level. And I think that he's going to have a good offseason because last year's offseason, we kind of knew he was the guy. Kirby didn't come out and say it until, I guess, a few weeks before the season. But like Stetson Bennett going into the 22 season, Carson Beck knows he's the guy. And there's no worrying about a possible, talented Brock Vandagriff behind me and Gunnar Stockton. And no, this whole offseason, he knows he's the guy. And that's only going to help his confidence. And he's already a confident guy, Dean. So if he continues to take that step forward, the offense is going to be very, very good again.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying I expect Georgia to win the national championship, but they definitely have as good a shot, if not better, than everybody else. I do wonder, if we look back on it, I do wonder, y'all, I'll go to Ryan first, I guess, if they win the national championship this year coming up, we'll look at this time as not just the glory years at Georgia, but you'd be approaching some very serious college football, royalty at that point. I mean, they've lost. Obviously, I couldn't believe this when I said this earlier today. They've lost 2 games in 3 seasons, right? Correct.
To the same team.
To the same team. Won by 3 points.
In the same game.
Same game, yeah. I mean, like in the other time they played them, they beat them by 15. So, it's all right there for Georgia. Now, Ryan, Oregon's good. Ohio State's good. Texas is good. We think Alabama will probably still be good. 2 of those teams, Georgia plays. So, I don't know. It's not going to just be some simple thing, but it's all right there for them. And they have to take advantage in a way that they did not last year. It was wrong for them not to be in the playoff. I'm not going to stop saying that. But they have to be ready for every single moment this coming season. And playing Clemson Open will probably help with that. Yeah,
because it's like you both have said, you're not starting with a Ball State. You're not, the SEC competition, that doesn't start until September 30th or whatever it was when they played Auburn. I think it was September 30th. You don't have to wait a month to wake up. They were allowed to sleepwalk through that first month. Now you get a big game. All eyes are going to be on you in this game against Clemson. You start out with that. Then you get a little bit of cupcake action after that. Look, if they won the national championship this past season, and they three-peated, I don't know that they would have the roster heading into this year to where we feel this confident as we do right now, right? I think Carson Beck probably would have left. I think, a handful of other players probably would have left, and we'd be looking at.
Left? I mean,
I kind of think you ride off on the sunset in that, man. They're talking about J.J. McCarthy being a first-round pick.
Bo Nix being a first-round pick too, I think.
Who?
I think I've seen Bo Nix being slotted to the Saints or somewhere. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous.
It's not the way it used to be with NFL. Go ahead, Ryan.
We know that they can win this year, right? We knew that last year. We knew that in 2017, right? They've had the team that can win. It's about executing, right? That's all this is about. But there are only a handful of teams that really can win, and they're one of them. They're one of them for sure. You lean towards them as being the top. We say Oregon's going to be really good. I think they're going to be really good. They added, I think, Evan Stewart and Dylan Gabriel. That replenishes you on offense, but you got to be able to turn around and have quick chemistry with that. That's my same concern with Ohio State. That's why I hesitate, predicting that they're going to get as far as a Georgia or a Texas.
Is why now exactly with Ohio State? What's your issue there?
Chemistry, building that. I mean, it's just hard to do. You don't see people just go places and win, right? Not everyone's Tom Brady. It doesn't just work like that. Not everyone's the GOAT.
No, they're not. Go ahead, Matt, real quick.
Real quick, I was just going to say this about Clemson. This is not some random out-of-conference team. This is not opening up with North Carolina or Florida State or whoever. They're not a traditional rival, Dean.
Right.
But that game means something. Georgia-Clemson, has like a little mini rivalry. They used to play all the time. They're very close. They recruit against each other. Georgia fans, I don't think, are very fond of Clemson fans and vice versa. So this game means more than I think the average college football fan knows. And to start off with Clemson, I do expect the team to be ready for that.
I think what you said is true. It means more than most people realize. But let me just say this: the ACC schedule just came out. I don't know why the ACC can't get all of this on one page, but whatever. It's embarrassing. They've got Clemson opens with Georgia, and then they play Appalachian State, Open, NC State, Stanford, and Florida State. So they're looking at probably 2 losses in their first 5 games. They're going to have to they're not going to have a lot of margin for error. If they trip up Georgia, that would help them a lot. If they beat Florida State, that would help them a lot. But they got a real challenge at the beginning of this thing. At the end is not so bad, but the beginning is not great. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.